We're taking it back.
Hey guys, Frozen X is here, and this is going to be one of those videos where it's going to seem like a rant, but I just want you guys to know I'm not really ranting. I'm just kind of trying to point out a problem and that it's not really going to get better. And as you can tell by the title of the video, today we're going to be talking about hackers. Well, actually, the more appropriate term for them is cheaters, because they're not actually hacking anything. They're more or less modifying code, and even to that extent, they're more or less, or more than likely, just going to be buying the code that is modified from someone who actually knows how code works but doesn't give two shits about video gaming, because that's how the hacking community really operates. So let's get into it. Ubisoft's biggest downfall was that a lot of player statistics, and I don't mean your stats, but just player data, is stored client side. One of those things being player location. And I'm sure by now you've seen the videos of people teleporting in the middle of combat in the Dark Zone, and that's because when Ubisoft wrote this game, they needed to account for a certain amount of player latency or lag. Everyone doesn't have a perfect connection, thus, if you disconnect for a few seconds or you stop receiving or the client stops receiving a message for a few seconds, rather than booting you from the server, the client will just accept wherever your new position is, or the server will accept wherever the client says your new position is once the connection is reestablished. Now, this is all fine and dandy because it makes it so just a brief second of lag doesn't kick you out of the game and cost you all your great high-end loot that you got in your backpack, which, as we know, you didn't get because there are hardly any high-end drops. But regardless, what this allows is for players to write clients that just tell the server where their new player position is. The server accepts it because they think it's just due to lag, and boom, you've teleported. Now, other things that can stem from this, and I haven't seen too much of it, but I'm sure if you actually looked into it, you'd notice. I have a feeling that player guns, like the items that you have in your backpack and inventory, are also stored client side, because that would be a massive amount of data to store on a server. Every piece of gear that you have stored in your character, or between four characters, the stash, and all those kind of things. I have a feeling hackers are able to spawn weapons, not modify their abilities or anything like that, but just give themselves whatever weapons they'd like. There's really no way to prove this other than to just go ask a hacker, and I'm not really friends with those people. I don't have any of them on speed dial. So the next thing that is probably going to stem from this is, I'm going to assume, that damages. Because if you've ever watched one of my videos, you notice that sometimes when I'm uploading, there's a few second lag between when I shoot and when the damage actually, registered with the server. And that's because the AI are server side, but because each player is client side, they're going to have to transfer the message between the server. So if a hacker lags himself, he can probably make it so that the damage won't register until after a few seconds that you've shot him, meaning he can kill you. You still may kill him, but it'll be delayed a few seconds, so he'll win the battle every time, which will just be horseshit. Now, that one's pure speculation. I do have a bit of a coding background. I've worked on Minecraft mods, and I've built programs since I was in 8th grade. So that's just kind of speculation. I'm sure they can do it once they figure it out. The biggest issue is that the server requires an authentication request. If they can figure out how to modify the authentication so that it will always return true, then you're going to have a complete shitstorm. I'm sure things like how many health kits you have are stored client side. You can just modify that to be infinite. Probably the ammo count too. Have infinite ammo or infinite ammo in a mag. All those things are probably stored client side, because again, storing all that data on Ubisoft servers would really hinder down the game, especially when you consider the fact that Ubisoft servers are rendering the map as well as all of the AI. They did not take the DayZ approach, where when you run within a specific distance of an area, AI spawn on your computer. The issue with this is, in DayZ, you'll notice it if zombies spawn on someone's processor and that someone has terrible connection. When you shoot the zombies, it will take a few seconds for them to die, and it's no fault of your own or the servers. It's because the person who is rendering and controlling the zombies, not physically, but his computer is doing it without his knowledge, has a shit connection. So they opted out of that route and they ran all of the AI at once on all these generated maps on their servers, which I guarantee is taking up just a astronomically large amount of computing power. Now, I want to get into the reasons why this isn't going to change anytime soon, and the first and biggest reason being they're busy. First of all, what I'm proposing, or well, what I'm saying is that really the only way they can fix this is to find a way to store all this data on the server side and then uh, be able to compress it small enough and read it that it'll actually work, which is a huge project. I know, that's why I'm not suggesting that. That would take years and years. The only other solution is to find a way to make the request authentication request completely invalid and or completely unbreakable. And while you can sit there and say, "Oh, you want? Well, why don't they go down that route?" Let's face it, you can make something unbreakable all you want, but there's someone out there that will figure it out. There is no one that can't break something. It, there's no way you can write unbreakable code. I mean, and with the exception of encryption and things like that. But once we get quantum computers, even that's going to get torn through. But that's well outside the scope of this video. Wow, and now I'm using programming terms to describe my videos. I'm sure you guys are seeing the whole nerdiness come out in me. Just so you know, I do know a little bit what I'm talking about. I'm a second year cybersecurity student, and like I said, I have been working with code since I was in the 8th grade. So that's like what, 4, 5, 6, 7 years of programming? Yeah, that sounds about right. But anyway, there's no way they can rewrite the entire thing. So let's run server side. And even if they did just rewrite it and not compress it or do any of the really hardcore stuff, and they just bought a lot more servers to run all that, that would just be an astronomical expense they would have to pay for, and then they would have to maintain those servers, and I just don't see it happening. So, realistically, I don't see hackers going away anytime soon, especially because right now Ubisoft is rushing and probably working their asses off to get that first Incursion expansion out on time. And because, I mean, let's face it, they haven't given us an exact release date, and they're doing that because they don't know if they're going to have it done by their projected release date. They probably think they're really close to having it done, but they're not sure yet. And with a game like this, they don't want to announce something and then delay it. This has been the biggest sale they've ever, or biggest, most sales on a game they've ever had. They don't want to let people think that they're going to fuck it up. So they're going to announce the date when they're 100% sure they can make that launch on that date. Which is exactly why they are probably working night and day to try and get everything working perfectly for that update. And then once they're done with that one, guess what? They have another update where there's going to be more incursions, at least one more incursion, and there's definitely going to be some other things added to it as well. And then, once they're done with that, they have an expansion. And after that expansion, they don't have another expansion for a good while, but in that time they might be able to work on some things that'll just be general fixes, but we're talking about after June here. It's only March now. It's almost April, thankfully, but that's a long way that's going to be, just an issue where the hacking community is just going to grow, and Ubisoft will address it. They'll probably change the way the authentication requests work multiple times, and that'll work probably for like a week. All the hacks will come back. They'll change it again. Work for a week. All the hacks will come back. It's just the same way that Blizzard has to deal with their shit. They've been dealing with it for years. There's always that dickhead that can figure out a way to hack WoW, and they just, once they figure it out, they patch it, and then that dickhead comes back a few weeks later and he found a way around that patch, and it's just this endless cycle of dickheads who figure out ways around, authentication requests. So that's my thoughts on it, and that's my explanation why we're going to be stuck with this issue for quite a while, probably up until June when they can do a major rework of the how the system is done. I don't think they're going to be able to move all player statistics, player data over to the server side, but hopefully they'll at least move player positioning over server side and find a way to make it accept latency, which I know, you're probably screaming in the comments, oh my god, you know nothing about programming, you idiot, that would take so long. Well, we're talking about a huge game company, one of the biggest game companies in the world. I'm sure they have enough people that they could figure something out. And with the sales this game has grossed, I'm sure they can just, get a few people working on it. So, all in all, I'm just saying don't expect much anytime soon. If anything's gonna happen major with the hacks, then it's probably not gonna happen until after June. But other than that, I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, leave a like and let me know in the comment section. If you disagreed with anything, also just let me know in the comment section. If you guys, I really would appreciate if you guys who don't like the videos would tell me how I could improve them to make you like them, because usually it's just, this is wrong. It's like, well, that's your opinion. I can't make a video that's going to appeal to everyone's opinion, but well, I'm the idiot that decided he wanted to start putting videos on the internet, so yeah, I guess I'm going to be stuck with that for a while. Anyway, thanks to all the guys that show support. I love you all, and peace out.